Okay. Just 1 second more. Okay. Everybody, nice to see so many great people. So this is the beginning of this conference. If everything happens more or less like we want, it will last for about 4 hours. And at the end, we will have kind of approach of many interesting proposals that you can already see on the link that David show you in the chat. So I said already, one of the ideas today is to discuss about proposals. All proposals are very interesting, and of course we are going to speak about these proposals now and maybe also later. And now, and there is only one thing where we will be very strict, is to stop people if they go ahead of the time that is decided. So 4 minutes for each speaker, and then 100 seconds for the second part of the discussion. But now I give the word to David for a little bit more explanation about, let's say, technical aspects.
Welcome, everybody. So it's great to see so many people. This is going to be interesting just to hear people giving updates about some of the activities they've been involved with. People maybe we don't normally hear from, and unexpected angles from people we already think we know. But it's going to be more interesting than that, because we're going to ask everybody to consider voting for the different proposals that will be discussed. And we are giving each person 5 votes. And we're going to ask you to spread your 5 votes around all the proposals you'll hear. And this is impossibly hard, because I've looked at all the proposals and they all deserve votes. But to make it interesting, we're going to ask that you spread your 5 votes. If you are very keen, you can give all your 5 votes to one person, or you can give 5 to different people, or 3 and 2. You're not voting for presentations. You're voting for what's actually written in the proposals. So bear that in mind. Right, and we'll say more about the voting later. You don't vote now, but you might keep some notes. If something particularly inspires you, you might record that, because you would otherwise, since we're all humanity minus in some ways, we might forget the inspiration we had earlier. Mark.
Thank you, David. For me, a very quick word, just say you that we are very happy to welcome this small conference organized by AFT Technoprog, but especially and mainly by Didier Kernel, with the great help of David Wood. As you have understood, the idea is both to have a quick overview of the diversity of our movements, but also to quickly gather some key ideas. And I think that already the set of proposals received is very encouraging. I just say once more a word and announce first time to you that it could be something like an introduction to something we are preparing for the end of the year, because we are on to present you the next Transvision event, maybe in Paris in November. But we were talking about that all the time. So now the floor is yours. We're beginning with alphabetical order, I think. So we have to check the list for an A. The first speaker have to be, I think, Adam Ford from Australia. Adam is here.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh no, this is Andrew.
I didn't know I was going to be first, but I should have drunk a cup of coffee because it's 3:10 a.m. So yeah, please forgive my slurriness. I don't think I'm in a fit state to be a public speaker, but oh well. So what, am I speaking for 4 minutes? Is that right?
4 minutes, that's right.
starting from now. Okay. Well, I'm going to be talking about achieving dynamic goodness through machine understanding. And well, okay, by way of introduction, AI, I think, is becoming increasingly powerful in its predictive accuracy, though it's missing important aspects of intelligence that I don't think is recognized. It doesn't seem to understand stuff underneath the hood in a way that humans do, at least. A major aspect of understanding is causal, and understanding it is extremely important for having both efficiency and intelligibility in both science and ethics. And I think that if we can develop this causal type of understanding into machine learning or AI, then we'll be able to go gangbusters with both science and ethics and engineering. While prediction is about what forecasting what might happen, understanding in its causal sense is about explaining why things happen. It used to be that one of those, that those who understood the fields of expertise, that is field domain experts, were also those who were the best predictors. This is what used to be the case back in the day before computers and before there was a lot of automation with computers. In contrast, AI has now overtaken human capability in prediction. So in a variety of fields. But under hood, it's not really understanding anything in the same way that we do, especially the causal sense. Perhaps it's quite natural for us to believe that understanding would appear once we had a certain level of AI, like symbolic AI back in the day. We're still using it now, it's still useful, or sub-symbolic or neural nets. But no, the hard lesson is understanding didn't come for free, and it didn't just emerge spontaneously. So modern state-of-the-art AI, like for instance deep learning, is able to achieve beyond human level predictive accuracy via correlations across large data sets, large training sets. This produces amazing results, and like I think we're all pretty amazed and have been wowed by some of the results that has happened over the last few years. However, many AI experts often complain about AI hype, and justifiably so. They believe that there's false narratives in some cases undermining the real work that they do, where the understanding isn't really in the machines, it's in the programs, the programmers who program the AI tools and the people who are using these tools. That's where the understanding lies right now. So it's a huge problem that the apparatus in AI which generates predictive accuracy is a black box, opaque. It's hungry for data. You need large data sets to do this, and you need huge amounts of computational resources. It's stubborn, it's prone to hallucinations and catastrophic forgetting, and ultimately horrible at providing explanations for their predictions. And so when this type of machine learning fails, it's really not hard to know when it will fail or why it will fail, because sometimes you can't predict
30 seconds left.
Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, that's a quarter of my talk. Okay, and in some cases it fails catastrophically, requiring complex workarounds for it not to fail, or for it to fail, it needs to fail or degrade gracefully. So we need fault tolerance, and that there's a larger problem that achieving robust machine intelligence, machine understanding should be able to help solve. Okay, how many more seconds? That'll do it, I guess.
Many thanks, Adam. So people can read more about your proposal in the document. Thanks so much for being here at 3 a.m. in the morning and get 3 gold stars for that.
Do I get a happy stand?
Thanks. So by all means, clap everybody in the window. And next up is Angel Marchev Sr., who I think is going to share a video.
Good evening, everybody. Happy birthday to Natasha. Some months ago, during the Transvision conference, Didier had a very good idea to invite those of us who were not in Madrid to prepare 3 minutes videos because of reasons out of DDA. That idea was not materialized, so I have the opportunity. I'm using the opportunity to use this video right this evening. The main essence of the proposal is I'm urging my colleagues, university professors, to include elements of ideas of longevity and transhumanism in every single university subject. We are doing that for years. There is some tips and tricks in that area mentioned in my video. More is to come in our conference in September, also mentioned in the video. And all of you are invited to participate in this conference. Many did already in the previous conferences. So I am sharing the screen. So did you see my text and my video?
That's good. You have 2.5 minutes left.
Okay. Greetings, dear fellows and colleagues, transhumanists from all over the world. It is Angel Marchev Sr. speaking from Sofia. Main event in Bulgaria for this year was our traditional 14th scientific conference held in September. Many of you did participate. In connection with the 1st of October, we disseminated our traditional annual statement on longevity and transhumanism. I hope all of you have read it. For many years, we are stressing on education as a key factor for dissemination of the concepts of longevity and transhumanism. I am urging all my colleagues, university professors, we are only 13 million on the planet after all, to include aspects of longevity and transhumanism in every single university subject. On the basis of our experience in the field of educational games and computer simulations, we are involving all our students in different forms of learning activities, planting seeds of knowledge. Every ballpoint is representing such a form of education. There is no time to explain. This will be a paper for the next conference. We are planting seeds in a potentially very big field. Only one example. Already started Engage.eu project, aiming at creation of an online campus for 100,000 students. There is 42 similar projects, and we are participating in 2. At the end, all of you are kindly invited to participate in our next conference in September next year, and to join us and follow us, ending with the Bulgarian equivalent of these words: за наука, образование, радикално дълголетие и трансхуманизъм. Живей вечно или умри, опитвай. Вечността е пред нас. It was my pleasure to speak to Transvision 2021. Thank you very much for your attention. Actually, thank you very much for your attention.
Engel. So that's your time up, I'm afraid.
Yes.
That was great.
It's okay.
Yes. Thanks so much for that proposal. More details in the document. Next up should be Antti Peltonen, but I don't think he is here yet. In that case, we'll move on to Anton Kulaga, please. Anton, if you'd like to take the stage.
Hello, everybody. Do you hear me well?
Excellent.
Okay, so I am sharing my screen. Do you see the screen share?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, so a few words first from the situation in Romania as I'm living here. So nothing was really happening during last COVID years because I mean, we try to minimize offline activities. We had a relatively recent meeting in our meetup group when things became better. So you see a photo from this. And many activists, including me, moved to online communities that we maintain, like longevity fellowship calls each week. That's about Romania. In terms of Ukraine, where I was born, well, I mean, there people are too busy with political and war risks, and also nothing is really happening. In terms of the proposals that I want to talk about, it has something to do with what I am doing. So, I mean, I am involved in both aging research as well as some autoimmune gene therapies, and I do a lot of activism regarding longevity and transhumanism and open source. And the proposal is related only with the third one, so it's my personal opinion and not related to what we are doing in lab. So relatively recently, I got a grant of thanks to Vita DAO and Gitcoin for one of my open source projects where we make an open source system that will assemble genomes, annotate them, and also we are making longevity polygenic score. And what I discovered when I started working with it, that there are many taboos related with genetics, and I think it makes sense to address them. So here I mentioned some of them, and with color I showed that blue color is actually what can be possible to be done by extending open source project I am in, and yellow is what our collaborators are doing. So some of the problems are typical fears, even fears of smart people, that insurance companies and other bad actors can use their genome information against them. And I believe that we should think about positive stories, how actually genome information can let you benefit, not to be afraid of having genome sequence, but to actually see potential benefits. And also there are workarounds for privacy, like Genomes DAO, that allow keeping things anonymous and private despite having things sequenced, and even get money from like research that you allow others to do with your genome. And
30 seconds.
Okay, the second thing is that some people actually, there is this designer baby fears, but what actually discovered that it may be possible to, we don't have it in our feature list, but it can be possible to have such features in open source systems that parents can just use it to select embryos, and it can deal with some problems, corporate problems and risks. And also, I will skip this, and also not related to what we are doing, but there are also debates about enhancements of animal intelligence, and there are really creepy stories like Planet Apes and so on, and it's totally different from real science that you see on the right. And I believe we have to improve the public perception on it, because we need more intelligent research based on genetically modified animals to understand us better. And in terms of cloning, similar concern is that, like, left is public perception, that is totally wrong. On right, we see that epigenetic and environment plays a lot of role, and we actually have to create better public perception of both animal and human cloning, because cloning what allows us to actually see the difference between nature and nurture, and also to understand how it is related with intelligence.
Thanks so much. That's 5 minutes. So I've muted you now, Anton. Thank you so much. That's a lot to think about. And next, we're going to change the order slightly. We're going to give the microphone briefly to Jose Luis Cordero, who is about to catch an aeroplane. So we're going to move to him for a few minutes. Jose.
Yes, thank you very much, David, Didier, Mark, and everyone else. I am really thrilled to see this activity. I am in the Dubai airport. I was just for the inauguration of the Dubai Future Foundation Museum of the Future. You can see it behind me. It really is an incredible place. It was chosen to be opened today because today is a very funny number. It's 22/02/2022. So the Emir of Dubai selected this date. This is an incredible place, and I was talking to them. They are interested in organizing a futurist summit. So I convinced them about transhumanism. So they are very interested in this. So probably next year, we might have something with the government of Dubai in this incredible building. Really, truly fantastic. So after Transition Madrid last year, I want to organize this in Dubai, and hopefully we can have it next year. So I can tell you more later, and I will be happy to see Natasha tomorrow. I am flying to New York right now. I am in Dubai, flying to New York. So I'll tell you all the news. Natasha, we want you in Dubai also, Natasha, to talk about your fantastic issues. And I apologize because I am in a public place, so I cannot talk too much. So I'm going to give some of my 4 minutes to the following person. But even in Dubai, there are some transhumanists. So I'm very, very excited to tell you the good news. Anyway, so that's all from Dubai on my way to New York. So Natasha, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Great journey and great collaboration. Thank you so much. The next speaker on the list is Armand Nketcha. And Armand is here, but his presentation is going to be given in English, I think, by Didier. So Armand, if you're still here, say hello, bonjour, but also I'll let Didier take the microphone.
Hello.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Salut Armand. Okay. Okay, so I will speak with the French accent also about the African spiritualist side, a certain part to the reception of transhumanism in Africa. Transhumanist ideals in general and technoprogressive in particular are of increasing concern to Africans. Their reception by them is not unanimous, uniform, and unique. This is dual and obeys a requirement of contextualization within the African ethos. If some of these ideals, such as equal access to transhumanist technologies, the extension of the healthy lifespan, social happiness, genetic improvements, and artificial intelligence, are perceived as conceptual breeding grounds that deserve to be intellectually harmonized in a pragmatic of survival, that is to say, a realistic perspective application, which reinforces the permanence of an improved human existence. There are other transhumanist ideals who are seriously wrong. Sorry. There are other. I lost my. Who are there? Oh la la, sorry. There are other transhumanist ideals who worry about Africa and African socio-anthropological architecture. This includes, for example, the idea of singularity, cryonics, longevity understood as fight against aging, and immortalism. The hypothesis of this dual African perception of transhumanism comes from an African intellectual encounter. Indeed, during the first international symposium on the question of transhumanism in Africa, organized from November 15 to 17, 2021 at the University of Yaoundé in Cameroon, we made a synthesis of the opinions, recommendation, concern and enthusiasm of a certain Cameroonian intellectual class made up mostly of academics. According to a generally shared feeling, the technoprogressive variation of transhumanism could concretely be harmonized in a philosophical, ethical, axiological, anthropological, social, economic, cultural, and traditional African approach. For example, if longevity is a sought-after ideal in Africa, longevism, which would aim at an annihilation of aging from an eternal youthfulness, would not meet the anthropological and cultural value of the idea of aging in Africa. That is to say, the idea that biological aging and cultural, that is to say that biological aging of the body and therefore of age is an objective data for evaluating the capacity for wisdom of African men. This, in terms of the symbolism of traditional African spirituality, contributes to stabilizing the foundation pillars of the family, clan, of tribe. Similarly, the technological singularity, which puts the advent of the cyborg into perspective, poses an existential problem for the African and which revolves around otherness, finitude, and death. However, these 3 degrees of objectivity are not perceived in African axiology as prohibitive obstacles, but rather as moments of a transformative dialect on the human and spiritual levels. I will now put the text also in the chat because it will be easier for you to understand maybe. And thank you, Armand, for this text, and thank you, Deeple, for the translation. Okay, that's it.
Thanks so much. That's within the 4 minutes. Excellent. And next up is David Orban. And there are 2 of you, so you can argue between you which one gets to speak.
I do that every day. Thank you very much. My brain is appropriately split amongst so many ideas, trying to invade and colonize it. As a matter of fact, my contribution to this meeting is not as much a proposal as an invitation to techno-progressive self-awareness. I am seeing a trend which is somewhat worrisome to me, of so many friends dismissing technologies, dismissing ideas, and I wonder if we have the sufficient alertness to ask ourselves, why is that happening? My favorite tool is to ask who benefits, cui prodest. We can ask this question when we are led to parrot without checking biased positions against technological progress. Smart people uncritically repeat arguments that can be quickly debunked or even traced back to incumbent interests wanting to slow down or even reverse progress that will benefit us all. Let me give you 3 quick examples. What about the batteries? Well, the electric car revolution is unstoppable. Desperate to keep the internal combustion engine alive, incumbent interests are posing the question, but the question is moot. Battery recycling will be the obvious solution and itself a huge business opportunity. Example 2, Bitcoin's energy consumption will destroy the world. Well, the global financial network of the 21st century obviously must be based on a decarbonized renewable energy like everything else. But do you really believe that the solution instead will come from the traditional banking system? Example 3, billionaires escaping to Mars. We must stop them. Well, the exhilaration of our dreams, the open frontiers of space, are worth the price of a few billionaires joining us on the adventure. It is not really likely that radical innovation in space will come from planned economies instead. Last example, solar panels can't cover the entire Earth. No, they can't and they won't. We will electrify the economy and increase the amount of power available to everyone per capita while freeing up soil to be returned to nature in the process. So we must always check our own biases. And yes, my bias is techno-optimism. We must reevaluate our priors in light of new information and empower our thinking through the proactionary principle. Thank you.
Many thanks, David. Lots to think about there too. Thanks for joining us, and you're well within 4 minutes. Now, next up, if I consult the agenda, is myself. So I will now share my screen and start the timer. So it's my great pleasure to be at this conference today. I will offer a few words about the projects and priorities of Transhumanist UK and London Futurists. The Transhumanist UK is doing a podcast, an audio podcast. It's the co-host. You can see the episodes online on the Insight page of transhumanist.uk. Recent episodes have included a look at NBIC convergence, DIY healthy longevity, the biohappiness revolution, and transhumanism and the Overton window. If you want to feature in a future podcast in the series, let me know. You may have heard about the Transhumanism 2024 project of Transhumanist UK. The idea is that in 2024, there will be elections for several of the major cities in London, and the Transhumanist UK party could put forward candidates and in this way show a possible new future for politics. My update today is this project is on hold. That is deprioritized for the next few months. It's a long way to 2024 still. There may be more news about it later this year. In the meantime, we are prioritizing a few different things. First, to accelerate an improved conversation about the rise and implications of artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence. And this involves partnerships with, amongst other organizations, more to be announced soon, Fast Future and the Millennium Project. Another priority is to support discussions about aspects of achieving super longevity that aren't sufficiently covered elsewhere. For example, presentations on the radical idea of a younging hypothesis, presentations on replacing aging, and presentations on complications from social trends that could either accelerate or slow down our progress to super longevity. But what I most want to talk about in my remaining minute and 40 seconds is the Vital Syllabus project. That's what you will read about in the written proposal I have submitted. And this is a project that's been underway for a few months, collecting videos and documents that are highlighting the most important skills that everybody needs in a world of rapid transition and uncertainty. So I am asking people to help by collecting and curating videos or other documents that are free, with no access restrictions, clear, engaging, and trustworthy. You can read more about this project on the Education tab of London Futurists. There's lots of information there, including an FAQ of frequently asked questions. And you can also find a breakdown of the syllabus into 24 top-level areas, learning how to learn, and so forth. And you will find on there a number of example videos already, mainly in the Singularity section, Transhumanism section, Landmines and Solutions. So I am asking for people to look at this and contribute videos. This project's likely to last 3 years, but I want it to be valuable for the general public, people of all ages, sooner than that. Thank you very much. And now I will reset my timer and invite Didier to offer his words. Didier.
Yes.
Didier.
Hello. Thank you, David. Sorry, I was not unmuted yet. I will share the screen now for a very short speech concerning the situation in Belgium, but also in Europe, because you know Belgium is the capital of Europe. Brussels is the capital of Europe. So, about a few words about Belgium, Europe, and technoprogressism. So, Belgium is probably one of the more multicultural and multilingual place in the world. It's the city where FM 2030, one of the founders of the Transhumanist movement, was born. So Feridun Esfandiari, it was his name when he was born, but he took the name FM 2030. And it's one of the regions of the world where you have the most scientists and where you have also the most medical doctors and people active for health and for longevity. It's, of course, the main seat of the European Union, and it's probably the more advanced place for studying the brain. There is this, Europe in general, but Belgium in specifically. You have the Human Brain Project in Switzerland, and also with many people active in Belgium. But what we don't have yet is a goal of a public institution to defeat or even to slow down aging. Probably today we will be speaking about some initiatives in the world, like AltoSlap, like Google Calico, but at the public level, nothing yet. And there is not yet awareness that old age is the #1 killer, the #1 source of diseases, the #1 source of suffering in the entire world today. Now, a few words about HEALS. So, HEALS in organization only focused on longevity. What are we doing? We are doing the Euro Symposium on Healthy Aging each 2 years. Well, it was each 2 years before COVID-19. We hope to try to make it again in 2022 around November. We are organizing conferences online, and we are supporting experiments on blood with old female rats. But this is not everything. We are also producing each month a newsletter, an electronic newsletter, The Death of Death, in French, English, Spanish, German and not German, and Dutch. There is also the monthly scientific news produced each month, and we have contacts with the press, with stakeholders, and we try to contact European institutions. We are also especially following how to raise healthy maximal lifespan. I think we have beautiful progress concerning longevity in many domains, but concerning the maximal lifespan, this is still not increasing. Increase this is how to favor human clinical tests on aging, and also how to favor the faster research on drugs concerning longevity, and also concerning gene therapies.
20 seconds.
So I don't have time more. I have only 12 seconds left, so to give you the main website, so HEALS Longevity Alliance, and also I'm member of the board of Humanity Plus. Natasha will maybe speak more about this. And don't forget to write me an email if you have time and if you agree or if you disagree. Thank you.
Many thanks, Didier. So in case you aren't aware, the biographies of each of the speakers are being posted into the chat window. So if you weren't sure who some of the speakers were, you can scroll up there, you'll find more information. We are now moving to Elena Milova, who has got a very interesting proposal for us. Elena, the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. And first of all, I wanted to thank all the organizers of this conference. I really appreciate the brainstorms. I think that this is something that allows us to progress faster. As many of you know, most recently, I was involved with Lifespan.io, and I was working in media projects, trying to put together a media company that will be posting news and covering aging research as regularly as possible in order to educate the public about those matters. And I think that goes pretty well. However, I wonder just how big is the percentage of people who are interested in science or health news who are actually getting this information, and whether we should now that we have at least several media companies completely focused on this topic, whether we should move to, maybe working with some other types of audience. Most recently, when I was thinking about this, I asked myself, what's the other biggest and most powerful tool that is forming public opinion about specific scientific topics and such? Immediately the answer was, it's art. Art is a natural medium that is expected and is supposed to question and challenge the status quo, to allow new models of thinking, to bring new ideas for the public consideration, to inspire. And quite often, as you may know, science fiction becomes the foundation for actually working in the direction of producing new technologies and putting together some innovations, and new ideas emerge as something practical. So my proposal is quite simple. I spoke with many art people from our field, movie directors and others, and it seems like they can offer a lot to promote those ideas. However, one thing that they are lacking, obviously, is the support, the funding. For instance, I spoke yesterday, just yesterday, with Tim Mopin, who, as you already know, is working on a movie, The Last Generation to Die. And, obviously, he would appreciate a little bit more attention to his project. But there are many projects of this kind, many movie directors, very capable people who can put together inspirational movies representing life extension in a positive way that can engage people much more, turn their perception to something, positive, help them ask for those technologies, expect those technologies, want those technologies. And I think this is a very promising direction of our activities as a community. So my proposal will be to start working in this direction. I myself, I'm currently putting together a new project. It's called Longevity Art. And I'm going to have a YouTube channel where I will be discussing how the ideas of life extension are represented in different movies already, and also having interviews with people who are working on new art projects in this direction that are somehow related to longevity and such. And since it's a very new project, it's only getting started, I really welcome everyone who would like to collaborate with me on this project. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much. With 20 seconds to spare. Great. I'll just remind everybody, if you are listening, if you're not a speaker, you will still have a chance to speak later in the event after all the proposals have been given. Then after all the speakers have one chance again to offer quick comments, we will have a third phase in which everybody will have a short time with the camera, short time with the mic if they want, to offer their views as to something that particularly inspired them. So keep a note of that and start thinking about what you would like to support. Next up is Felix Worth from Germany. Felix, the microphone is yours.
Yes, thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
So I will talk about using longevity parties to do advocacy for more anti-aging research. In 2015, I founded with others a single-issue political party in Germany, a longevity party. And so far, we have already participated in 14 elections in Germany. And the only issue of this party is that we demand that the government invests much more money into the development of effective medicine, rejuvenation medicine against the diseases of old age. So in this short talk, I'm trying to convince you, or try to convince some of you, to also form a longevity parties in your country. So because if we want to be alive and healthy in 100 years, we probably need to develop rejuvenation medicine, because other methods, like, for example, uploading or so, are too far off. And cryonics, for example, it's very uncertain if it will work. So we already know in principle that we can do something about aging with the repair approach, namely. But the repair approach now just needs to be implemented. And it's very complex. We need to repair a lot of damages and changes that happen in the body over time. And so we need to implement a lot of therapies. So the more people work on this and the more money is invested, the faster we will have the anti-aging medicine. And therefore, advocacy is so very important, because we have to grow this movement to do this faster. And we also need to try to convince the government to support this, because the governments have most of the money, so they could really hasten this a lot. And the governing parties, they care about votes. So and to be re-elected. So you have to show them that they can get votes with it. And if you participate in elections with the longevity party, the people can vote for you and show with the vote that the big parties, that they could get votes if they would include this issue more into their program. And also running elections is a very efficient way to do advocacy. So our party has already done a lot of advocacy with very few members and very few financial resources during the last 14 elections that we participated. So, for example, you can hang up election posters prior to the elections. The media is interested in parties that participate in elections, and if you only have this one issue, they always report about this one issue if they report about your party. And you can, in Germany, you can air commercials in TV and radio for free if you participate.
30 seconds.
Elections, okay. And your name is also on the ballot paper, and you can do many other election campaign activities. So that one, okay, I skip this. So I think it would help our longevity movement a lot if more longevity parties around the world were formed, because we could also work together and it would have a synergistic effect. So we need to grow this longevity movement faster to increase our chance of being alive and healthy in 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The more I listen to these proposals, the harder it becomes to figure out which are the 5 that deserve the most votes. That's a nice problem to have, I guess. Thank you. Now, next on the agenda was Freya, Freya van den Boom. She was here earlier. Are you here, Freya? I don't think you are now. If you join again, if she joins again, we'll give her a chance. Then next up would be Gaetan. Gaetan Cell, and I believe he submitted a video which Didier is probably going to show. Didier, do you have the video of Gaetan?
Yes. A few seconds to find it back, and then to share the screen. Just a minute. Sorry about that. Okay.
And after Gaetan, there's another video from Gennady.
So, no, it will be okay normally. Okay. Just 1 second more.
Hi, and thank you for the invitation.
Okay, and now I have to share the screen.
To be a speaker during this event. My background is in video production.
Can you hear it?
Usually propose something related
Make it large,
to
please.
outreach.
Yeah, I made it large, and you can hear it, I think, yeah?
Yes,
so
good.
It is okay. Okay.
Hi, and thank you for the invitation to be a speaker during this event. My background is in video production, so I would usually propose something related to the outreach of transhumanist ideas. But I've been working for a couple of months now on a project around long-termism, which is a relatively new philosophical concept, mainly from the effective altruism community. And there are obvious bridges between long-termism and transhumanism. The main one is that both ideas recognize that the future of humanity could be far brighter than we think. Thanks to technology and social progress, future generations could live lives that are orders of magnitude more beautiful than the happiest person today. And we're not talking about next Tuesday. This is something that will play out over centuries and more. In addition, the lifespan of our species could be close to 1 billion years if we last until the end of Earth, or trillions if we spread throughout the observable universe, which means the number of generations is just staggering. So this suggests that if you care about improving the world, your key concern should be whether the future goes well or badly, because this is where most of the value in history is located. Now, I think most of you will agree that the 21st century is a particularly dangerous time for our species. There are still too many nukes on high trigger alert. The progress in biotech could make it very easy for any biology student to design their own viruses, and we might see the emergence of machine intelligence far superior to our own. What could go wrong? A lot. And so safeguarding civilization is key if we hope to reach this amazing future. There are already maybe a dozen research institutes which focus on existential risks in the UK and the US. They're doing amazing work. But I think ultimately, the more we see these kind of places, the better. So France is a big player in Europe. And I would like to see a French institute for existential risks. But not only, it could also include long-termism, transhumanism, and so on. This could help bring these topics more and more into the French-speaking world and influence policies, foster innovations, among other things. It could also be a think tank. Of course, I have no idea where to start to implement this. I just put it out there, and someone with more experience with universities and the academic world could help, I guess. Anyway, thank you. I hope you have a great time during this conference, and I'm looking forward to see the replay. Bye.
Well, thanks to Didier for presenting that, and thanks to Gaetan for his video and his proposal. By coincidence, the next two presentations are also on video. So Didier, you have to work hard, I'm afraid. We are now moving to Gennady Stolyarov, who can't be here because it's the middle of the working day where he is. Didier, are you able to find that video and share it with us?
Yes, normally it's okay.
Greetings, my name is Gennady Stolyarov II.
Just a second, I have to share again. Tell me only if you cannot hear it. Normally it's okay.
Greetings. My name is Gennady Stoliarov II, and I'm the chairman of the U.S. Transhumanist Party. I'm pleased to present a proposal to the AFT Technoprog and London Futurists hosted Technoprogressive Conference to revive and expand upon the project of a computer game that was initiated in 2014, but unfortunately at the time was not pursued further by its original creators because of a lack of resources. This is LEV the game. LEV, of course, stands for Longevity Escape Velocity. And there was actually an alpha version of that game released back in 2014. It was quite engaging to play. One was in the role of a character who tried to live to age 200 by pursuing various lifestyle interventions and rejuvenation therapies when those kinds of treatments became available. In late 2020, I reached out to the original creators of LEV the game and essentially offered to provide them the kind of funding that they were asking for in 2014. Unfortunately, they do not presently have the capacity to finish this project because of other commitments, but they essentially allowed the US Transhumanist Party to finish the work. The issue is that while we have a lot of the graphical resources for the game and we have the general concept, the code for the game has disappeared. There is no known exemplar of the alpha version of the game still contained on anybody's device. So we have had to recreate the logic of the game from scratch. And I took this opportunity to alter the mechanics of the game a bit, to change it from a real-time game to a turn-based game where every year in this hypothetical future, one's character has a certain number of energy units that the character can use on either various lifestyle choices, improvements in productivity, or what is called advocacy in the game, which can affect the probability of various world events or technological discoveries that can help extend the lifespan of the character. In this game, one can potentially survive to witness the discovery and application of rejuvenation therapies based on the SENS approach. Also, there feature such technologies as nanorobots, AI assistants. Some possible events include natural disasters, world wars, pandemics, also an AI singularity, and all of those affect the probability of survival from one year to the next. I think the importance of this kind of game is that it offers a concrete way for people to conceive of the transition from here to there, from our current lifespans to the arrival of longevity escape velocity, and also to understand that it will not be an instantaneous transition. Rather, it will be through a gradual sequence of steps that people's life expectancies will improve. Finally, games are entertaining, and they can draw in a much larger audience than other possible means of communicating the LEV concept. So what do we need to make this game happen? Essentially, the logic of the redesigned game already exists. What we need is programming talent to implement it. So anybody with programming skills is welcome to collaborate with us on it. We hope to develop this game and release it for free to the world so that as many people as possible can play it and learn about longevity escape velocity in an interesting and entertaining manner. I have provided my email address here for anybody who wishes to collaborate and offer programming talent. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks again to Didier for presenting that, and thanks to Gennady for creating the video and for also writing his proposal in the document. Now, I don't know about you in the audience, but my head is slightly starting to hurt now, in a good way. The variety of thoughtful, thought-provoking proposals is substantial. But I'm going to ask Didier to add yet more into the mix. The next speaker is also participating via video. That is Ilya Stambler, who has yet another different angle to share. So Didier, if you are there, can I ask you to find yet another video? And after that, by the way, we'll be back mainly to spoken presenters.
Yes, normally it's Jean or
Ilya,
G.
oh my goodness, I got the alphabet wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, yes. G.
No, Jean, no,
wait.
Ilya before Jean.
No, that's fine, my bad. That's my bad, and I'm not even. Okay, sorry, my bad. Just a second. You're right.
We are disrupting the alphabet as well as disrupting everything else. So
Okay.
a couple of moments for everybody to grab a breath and get ready to listen more.
Yes. So, yeah.
Larger screen.
Greetings, dear participants of the Technoprogressive Conference. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Ilya Stambler. I'm the chairman of an Israeli pro-longevity association called BETEC, Seniority, the Movement for Longevity and Quality of Life. I hope I understood the assignment correctly. We were requested to give some suggestions, some inspiring suggestions for the promotion of progressive agenda, something that progressive organizations should promote. So my suggestion is simple. The technoprogressive organizations should promote technoprogressive organizations. What I mean is that in many cases, some of our organizations, and I've been around such organizations for many years, at least 20 years, and I speak from the heart. That's what I see almost every time, not always, but very often. What I see is that our organizations are simply inefficient organizations, meaning they don't have a concrete agreed vision, they don't have a concrete plan, they don't have a concrete set of actions, a concrete evaluation of their resources that they have, and a plan to get more resources with the understanding what kind of resources they need to achieve the plans and the goals. Simply, they drift aimlessly very often from one activity to another, and there is no concrete goal in sight. That's a sign of an inefficient organization. If it were a business, they would probably be out of activity very soon, but somehow our vision inspires us, even though many of our organizations are not working properly. So what I propose is simply to give more attention to our strategic and tactical planning, to understand what it is exactly that we want to achieve within our organizations, to gather together with the core members and discuss strategic and tactical vision, not in terms of what we should do. Very often our organizations stay at this level. What we should do, should we bring world peace, should we live forever? But in terms of actions, what each member of the organization wants and can do and actually plans to do. I think with such optimization, with such strategic and tactical planning, we can achieve much more and bring positive change. Sorry if it is too general, but I hope some organizations will see if it really applies to them and will act according to their circumstances. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you again, Didier and Ilya.
Okay.
Techno-progressive organizations should be better techno-progressive organizations. Yes, a challenge to all of us. And talking of techno-progressive organizations, who better to speak next than James Hughes, all the way from the east coast of North America. James, the floor is yours.
Very pleasant to be here. I think the most popular goal of our community, broadly the techno-progressive futurist community, is the demand for universal safe access to safe and effective longevity therapies. Some of you have already been working on this for decades, such as Ilya and Didier. And I think this is a perfect time for the launching of a collective initiative, political initiative for this project for three reasons. First, the retiring of the baby boom, which some of us are members of, and that has generated more attention because the baby boomers seem to have more of a focus on healthy longevity. Also, the end of the pandemic has given a crash course in clinical science to the world. Some people learned more than others, but basically the world is ready to hear about the future advances of mRNA and CRISPR and so forth. And finally, the science, as I indicate, is also maturing. So in terms of what the initiative would involve, it would first be a serious grappling with the demographic, medical, and political issues around longevity therapies, things like old age dependency ratio, the pension crisis, defining aging as a disease process, biomarkers of aging, and so forth. Next, we need to directly argue for public financing of longevity research, a rational clinical trial pathway, and access to these therapies through public health insurance. And third, we need to identify the existing organizations in every country that are already working towards these goals. I think mostly NGOs and think tanks. I'm not very enthusiastic about parties as a vehicle for this kind of activity, but work with and create coalitions with those longevity organizations. And just parenthetically, and I can talk about this more later, the Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technologies is starting a project, not on this, but on the future of work. And we just hired a postdoc to work on that in Boston. And we plan to have a conference for that in about a year and a half. So looking forward to talking to you all about that project as well.
James, you've still got another minute and a half if there's anything else you want to add in there.
Okay, well, I think, in terms of the technoprogressive aspect of this, one of the things that I would emphasize is the goal of re-engaging with the idea of what the state's function should be in all this. I think many people in the futurist community have despaired of reforming, for instance, clinical trial pathways and imagined that we could do an end run around that by doing this kind of experimentation in offshore platforms or Singapore or wherever. I would say, really, if we want everyone to have access to safe and effective therapies, we have to engage with the clinical trial pathway and reform it. Definitely, they all need reforming. We also need to engage with their biggest concern, that it's only going to be accessible to the rich, by making clear that from the outset that our goal is to make it accessible to everyone through universal public health insurance. And I think this would really be the techno-progressive angle on this particular campaign.
Thanks very much. Lots to think about there too. And you can read James's proposal and all the others in the linked document. Next up is Jean Armand de Brennan. Jean, over to you.
Thank you, David, and thank you all the organizer of this day and the attendees as well, because I need all of you. In contrary to some of the speakers, I am more oriented for a deliverable. And this deliverable is a software which could enable all of us to know where our R&D about aging. And we discover with Didier and with Mark that there is no software managing artificial intelligence and big data available. So I really need your support to develop this software. We are working on it. One very small startup has been created. And I am managing to get financing that it's easy. But afterward, I would like to provide it to you, all of you, as today member of this forum. And I tell you, if you vote for me, I will provide it to you free. That's it.
Well, you've got another minute or two if you have anything else to say.
No need. Just that if you want to have such software free, vote for me.
Well, thank you for being concise and clear and inviting. And maybe there's a little bit of techno-progressive bribery involved there too. Who knows? All for the good. Let's now move to Makiko Virgilio. Makiko, you have the chance to speak. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Makiko Yoshioka. I'm a Japanese and a second-year Master of Law student in France. Now I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Today, I try to introduce the current situation of transhumanism in Japan. In Japan, there is a Japanese Transhumanist Association, which is the Japanese branch of Humanity Plus. At the same time, transhumanism in Japan does not seem to be well known yet. However, I have two reasons to think that transhumanism will spread in Japan in the near future. The first reason is that GAFA or American startups are becoming very ambitious in the field of transhumanism, creating new metaverse companies or investing in these industries, like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. Given Japan's political and historical relation with America, its politics and economy can be influenced by those challenges. Nobel Prize Dr. Yamanaka Shinya has already been involved in an American transhumanism project. Because of his research on iPS, induced pluripotent stem cell. This cell is considered useful for longevity. And he will participate as a volunteer consultant in Altus Labs, a startup for achieving longevity, where Jeff Bezos invested too. This event will give a huge impact on Japanese society. The second reason is related to the era of super-aging in Japan. In 2020, the percentage of people over 65 was about 28%, the largest in the world. At the same time, because of super-aging, the cancer rate is high in Japan. Therefore, a radical solution for this sickness will be needed, and new technology can greatly help to cure. In such circumstances, the social requirement for robotization is already increasing, especially in the field of social care for elderly people. This will be the reason for developing Internet of Things and probably heading for the Internet of Body more quickly. The artificial worms had been examined already in Japan. The purpose of this idea is to save premature babies or women who, because of medical reasons, do not have a womb. Recently, studies said that artificial womb will resolve a super-aging society, as it releases the women from the burden of pregnancy and delivery. However, this idea of an artificial womb is not ready to use. The rapid spread of transhumanism is facilitated by the collaboration between countries and laboratories. Japan's particular situation of demography will definitely facilitate the spread of transhumanism. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really interesting. Makes me want to visit Japan again as soon as the airplanes are flying.
Yes.
Next up, I want to give the microphone to Mark Roux. Mark, over to you.
Thank you very much, David. Well, for my personal proposal that could inspire positive and future-oriented people or organization, as we were saying, I think that now that our efforts to attract fundings and researchers to longevity have begun to bear fruit, we need to pay more attention to popularizing the prospect of moral enhancement. Many of you, especially those who consider longevity to be the top priority, feel that there is still such a long way to go before the necessary efforts will enable us to overcome aging, that you must continue to devote all your energy to this great project. Nevertheless, I invite you to reflect on the role of a vanguard like ours. Indeed, longevitism has already found powerful relays in the economic and scientific and even some politics spheres. Things are moving slowly, but I think there are almost irreversible catches. It may take a long time because mentalities evolve slowly, but I think the battle for longevity is well underway. So our vanguard can begin to turn to the other great goal of transhumanism, which I think it's moral enhancement. For once, we have ensured that we live much longer in good health, even in youth. Will this be enough to improve the level of happiness and harmony in our societies? I don't think so. History has already amply demonstrated that increasing longevity does not change the predisposition of humans' dominance, xenophobia, aggression, etc., aggressivity. It remains stuck in his prehistoric gangue, which condemns him to repeat the same mistakes. As long as we do not allow humans to change these behavioral predeterminations, I think that nothing will ever change. It is therefore necessary to start prioritizing our efforts to develop the cognitive sciences and to do everything possible to ensure that their developments take place in the direction of greater choice for everyone, access for all to an improvement in their mental condition, and of encouraging more solidarity. It will also be crucial that we work to prevent cognitive sciences from continuing to be put at the service of liberticidal control and domination logics. On this condition, moral enhancements can be an unprecedented good in the history of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming in earlier in time, another 20 seconds if you want to say something more.
No, 20 seconds, it's not enough. So I prefer to stop there.
Thank you very much. You are already morally enhanced, it seems to me. Thank you so much. Next up, we are going to Martin Lipovsek. Martin, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm a PhD student from philosophy, and I'm working PhD thesis about life extension, and I'm president of Slovenian Society for Vital Life Extension. So first, a few words about Slovenia. We started society in 2017, and now we have around 50 members, more or less active, and it's slowly growing. So I think it's positive to see how it's happening in our small country. I mean, we have 2 million people, but there is still going on what's happening in life extension field and what's happening in transhumanist field or technoprogressive field. So, and then I will speak about my proposal. I think that the problem is that some people believe that life extension is just extending a few additional years of life, and this is all, and it's not really interesting. But I find it extremely interesting because I think it will help us to advance not just economically or health-wise, but also so-called spiritually. What I mean by spiritually is what I will describe now in 3 examples. So first example is by James Stroller Bernardin, who are saying that with life extension really developing, we will all fight death and not each other. And I think that this is like a spiritual step forward, like also moral enhancement for us to find a common enemy that is not a human, but it's some inanimate process in the nature. The second step forward is what I've seen Peter Thiel, who talked about that our Western society partly made peace with its decline. You know, we are talking about decline of the West. Also in humanities, we can read books and articles about decline and so on. and technoprogressiveness and life extension is a spearhead of this, can actually show the opposite trend of this decline to like new renaissances, if I can say like this. And thirdly, I'm also in my PhD now thinking a lot, and in the moment I'm in the I'm thinking about the idea that also our ways how to live life will change when we will live much longer, as have perspective to live much longer. For example, with perspective of very long lives, we might have clearer vision what is important for us, and therefore less procrastinate on the crucial and most important parts of our lives. So I will probably speak about this more in the future, but now I can just present it like this. So to conclude, I have around 30 seconds more. Thomas Hobbes described life as nasty, brutish, and short. And I think that it is not just bodily like this, but also spiritually, we are close to this. And I believe that changes of technology and science and society will also help us to overcome and rise above our current state and achieve the better one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. Lots to think about there as well. We're going to have a very slight change in schedule because Natasha is being pulled in 3 directions at once, but she has kindly asked if she can go next. We will come to Anastasia momentarily. Natasha, are you there? You said you were ready to speak. Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, David and Didier and Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. And I think what I'm enjoying the most is the passion that is igniting all these ideas and projects. And each one I think is unique and needed. That goes without saying. I'm not one to vote on who's best and who's worst. I think all are valuable. But our ideas need a foundation to form the projects to bring them about. And here's the issue. Projects need to be generated. They need fuel, they need power. And without that, they're not going to get off the ground. And that's one of the core issues that we all face continually. We've got the ideas, but how to get them off the ground.
Natasha,
Here.
your screen is blank. Is that
Oh, sorry. So forgive me. Yeah. Oh, it's blank. Oh, sorry.
We can see
this
you
isn't
now.
my computer. I'm here in the hotel. Just catch can. So forgive me. All right. Do you want me to start over or just pick up?
Just continue. Thanks.
Okay. So, bottom line, the most valuable issue that we have is the power to fuel these ideas, to bring them, to generate them to fruition, so that our projects can get off the ground. And so that valuable issue is fuel. Fuel is power. Power is knowledge. And that's what I'm pitching here. The intervention project I'm pitching, without a question or a doubt, is the Knowledge Accelerator. And I think this is something that we all have and we can use within each one of our projects. But the fact is I've already created it, and I just created it for this event. Specifically, I have been working on the transhumanist studies. It's been going for many months now. I've had hundreds of students from around the world. I've developed a team of these students. I've got my academic PhDs who are the mentors, but I also have the students who deliver knowledge as well and help me carve where we're going. So the bottom line, education. Education is all about knowledge, and without knowledge, we can't bring these projects to fruition. And I think that's consequential, no matter if the project is dealing with longevity sciences, longevity advocacy, mindfulness, what I call the ethics of fairness, looking at the trajectories for the future, how we're going to get there. We can't do that really as transhumanists without lifelong learning and continually updating our knowledge base. Is something I do almost on a daily, if not a moment-to-moment basis, listening and learning and error correcting my own views so that I'm more open and actually more open, I would say, and hopefully a kinder person in looking at the diversity that we need to embrace and accept. The Knowledge Accelerator curriculum is diverse, but it focuses primarily on skills that we can use. These are hands-on skills. They're foresight skills. I have a Master's of Science in Future Studies, and I use these skills in my own work, but I think that we need them in each one of these projects I've listened to today. So they're based on basic 4 skills that I encompass in this program. They're begin with the end in mind. This is basic backcasting, a very important skill. If you can't see where you need to go, you can't figure out how to get there, and look back at how you got there and then make error corrections along the way. The next one is the systems tree. This is very basic graphical interface where you can see what the core change is going to be and all the variables that affect that change. Now they are continually changing and you need to update your trajectory and pivot when necessary. The third is environmental scanning. It's when you look at the environment to identify trends across social, economic, political, environmental trends. And this helps us better identify where we need to go by openly looking at these trends and conflicts on the horizon. And the last one in this sect is the scenario framework to understand the drivers of change and how they disrupt and impact us so we can better, develop our trajectories. And as
20 seconds.
As transhumanists, this is so important. So our methodology is this learning model, and it's a 50-25-25 split curriculum. 50% is the lectures that are developed and the teaching, the videos. There's so many videos and core ideas that are presented. The next 25% are students working and pitching their ideas and actually becoming the instructors themselves. So it's an interactive, very modern interface for academic studies. And the last one is where students are able to take their ideas outside this framework and bring it to other groups. Our students are in Africa, they're in Asia, I should say our learners, excuse me very much, are in Africa, Asia, North America, Central America, South America, and we're growing and expanding. And many of you here are in the program. And I really am excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natasha. That's great. So education are the priorities, as a former British Prime Minister said. If you agree with that, then give at least some of your 5 points when you vote to these education projects. Next up, we are going to the speaking slot that was originally assigned to Mikhail Batin. That has been taken by his colleague Anastasia Velikanova. Sorry for making a mess of your name, Anastasia. The floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I am project coordinator in Open Longevity and bioinformatician. And here is my speech. In creating a cure for old age, we are not where we would like and should be. Why haven't we achieved significant progress in the longevity field yet? Although about 17,000 biological articles with the word aging in the title are published yearly, we do not have any therapy that reliably prolongs life. One reason is that there are no worldwide projects in the biology of aging, such as, for example, the Human Genome or the Large Hadron Collider. All research is conducted separately in academic institutions or startups and is mostly closed. With a great idea at the start, a company hides its investigations, but the capabilities of one team are not enough to globally change the situation. Another reason is that the problem of aging is highly interdisciplinary. Recently, some theories from modern physics have been applied to model the change of an organism with time. They consider the aging of an organism as the dynamics of a system in the configuration space of some omics data, for example, transcriptomes. These dynamics equations contain the gene regulatory network as parameters, which also change with age in different ways and interact with each other. This network can be analyzed based on experimental data to understand differences in dynamics of aging between species and various interventions with drugs, and try to learn how to manage these dynamics. So we need advanced mathematical models and AI algorithms to accumulate all research about molecular processes and identify critical genes or targets. Most importantly, we transhumanists should unite and create an infrastructure that would allow solving the problem of aging on a large scale, attracting the best specialists from different fields. An essential part of such an infrastructure is open databases. For example, our organization created OpenGenes, the database of genes associated with aging, allowing the selection of combinatorial therapy against aging. And we are creating a database with a very detailed description of drugs that have been proven to increase lifespan of laboratory animals for the creation of an algorithm for in silico molecule screening. And I will send you some links on chat with more detailed descriptions of all our projects. Thank you very much for your attention.
Many thanks, Alexandria. Anastasia, do you have anything else in the next 30 seconds to add?
No, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. So there's lots of overlaps people can start seeing between the different projects, possibilities for international collaboration. That's something we might explore in the later parts of this meeting. The next speaker is Miroslav Radman, and I'm going to share his video from my own presentation, my own speech. Yes, Didier?
David, I interrupt you very short just to say, well, maybe before or after Miroslav, you could give the word to Antti, who is now back.
Well, I asked Antti if he wanted to speak. He said he hadn't prepared, but he certainly, if Antti does want to speak, we will ask him to speak at the end. And in case I've missed out any of the other speakers, but there is a presentation by Miroslav, then there is a short talk by Elena Milova, who will bring, I think, our presentations to an end. But if I have missed somebody, then they should speak up at that stage. So let me present now this presentation by Miroslav Radman.
Greetings from the Mediterranean Institute for the Study of Life in Split, Croatia. Concerning the theme of the meeting, it is not difficult to predict that there will be competition between two approaches in prolonging life and health in humans. They will be in competition. One is the bionic or high-tech transhumanism of the Silicon Valley style, and another is biological rejuvenation, is mimicking in the whole population what centenarians and supercentenarians enjoy today, a life between 100 and 120 years without diseases and without chronic diseases that bring about death. Now, what bothers me as a biologist with the bionic transhumanism is that it must lead necessarily to the weakening, to the diminution of biological diminution of the human body. Then becomes some kind of chassis for different kinds of prostheses and becomes dependent on these prostheses. And somebody will be the owner of these prostheses. And I don't see a great joy of freedom in that. Unlike biological rejuvenation, the biological enhancement of the human, which is not a crazy idea. Such people exist. They are called centenarians and supercentenarians. It suffices to learn what is the biological basis of resistance to all malignant neurodegenerative and other degenerative diseases in order for the whole human population to enjoy the privilege of a fraction of population called centenarians. In that case, that would be human enhancement. It would maintain or increase even human freedom to do what people want to do. We know already the chemistry, basic chemistry of aging and of age-related diseases. It is corrosion of proteins, the molecules that do everything in life. We know here the predisposition to diseases, which is the destiny of all of us except centenarians. And it isn't too difficult to imagine research that maybe in 10 years would bring about conditions or consuming of probably natural molecules, which we know something about, that would make us all centenarians, productive and healthy at age of 80, 90, and even 100. So this is my statement. I would vote for biological enhancement, and once one gets bored by the success of biological enhancement, then one could maybe look for other means or develop other means such as the bionic, electronic, and chemical prostheses of this kind. So let's see. I hope that the funding of research will not favor heavily any of these two approaches, that they can at least in a fair competition go in parallel. Best greetings and thank you.
Well, thank you, Miroslav. And that comes, I think, to not the least, but possibly the last presentation from the first round. And that will be by Armand Nketcha. Over to you, please.
Okay. Greetings, everyone, and it's a privilege to be here. And thank you for your support and the opportunity. I want to talk on the topic, taking transhumanism to the grassroots level, kind of a systemic approach. When you come to Africa, there is a way there is what we call people's perception about Africa, and there's a way we receive information here in Africa. A little bit of translation of the transhumanist principles and the teachings to African people. I would like to tell the part of Friedrich Nietzsche, where he talked about flexibility in knowledge. And when you look at the African society, you will understand that we are a reflection of our collective consciousness. And if you listen, if you pay attention very well, you will be hearing noises from the church and everything, make noise, a lot of noise here. And I love what Natasha said when she pitched her teachings directly to education, talking about education. And I'll take it up from there, explaining education as the integral approach in understanding and translating reality of a people. So the African person, for you to teach transhumanism or life extension to the African person, we need to take it back to the grassroots level. The grassroots level, just as when the missionaries came to Africa, they have to take their teachings to the Sunday school, presented it to the little baby, for the little child to understand what they are talking about. So this little child, when the parents tell the little child what they are doing, it will be difficult for you to convince them. So I'm not trying to say that it should be dogmatic, but we should take it to the grassroots level. There are places where you cannot go. That's why TFDS is there. We are reaching out to people going to school, going to farm school, teaching them, talking about the kind of food they have to eat, the kind of life they have to live, and why life extension and the ingredients of transhumanism is important in their day-to-day life. So my concern is that we should have a more explanatory model of teaching transhumanism. And I've been going through some of the materials, the resources, and the teaching, the syllabus that the video design. I love it so much. I've been taking my time to master it and see a way of explaining it to the younger generation. If you are using high vocab, people might not understand it. And it's not all about teaching all these things. It's a knowledge need to outlive generation. And for it to outlive generation, you must learn how to translate it to the younger generation. So that is all I have to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Prioritizing education for the younger generation with clearer vocabulary so our message can indeed reach everybody. That is a great vision too. Thank you so much. I think everybody who said they were going to speak has spoken, except for one or two who seem not to have joined the meeting for some conflicts. And unless somebody I've missed, then we are shortly going to take a break because we all need a bit of time to recharge our batteries, maybe get some transhumanist nutrition, coffee or whatever. But before that, there are a few quick announcements, and we're going to hear from Mark about the future, and we're going to hear a bit about Didier about what's happening next. We don't really want people to vote yet, because to be fair, we want to move from this initial phase into a more exploratory phase in which each speaker will have a chance to build and support one other proposal. And then we want to hear from the non-speakers as well before we get into a vote. If anybody is desperate to leave and does want to vote, you can put your vote into the chat now, preceded by VOTE, as explained in the attached document. But ideally, people can stay longer and explore things more fully. Mark, what would you like to say?
Well, okay, I take the floor just for a few minutes, and I share my screen just to show you, that, if you can see it. So it's the fact that from some months now, French Transhumanist Association is working on the preparation of maybe what can be the next trans vision, and we hope that everything will be okay until November. We have the dates 18, 19, and 20. It's from Friday to Sunday. It will be 3 days, and the main themes will be, you can say, diversities of transhumanism. I have maybe just to precise that the scope, it's not to have some, I don't know, any fights, but and on the contrary, the one scope, it's to show that we are absolutely able to speak about what is our diversity is, and what the fact that a transhumanist movement is a movement which is very open, and there is a lot of things we are not always, we don't agree every time, but we are speaking and discussing all the time. And that's the thing we want to show, or the way we want to attract, especially French people in Paris to understand. So I already invite you to take those 3 days to grab it in your agenda, and sure you will have other information in the coming month. That is, thank you very much.
Block out your diaries now. Didier, any comments before we take a break?
No, that's great. It's really very interesting, all these proposals. So I don't have anything to add at the moment, except that I propose that we see each other precisely at also 7 p.m. here in Belgium, but yeah, you can change it for in 11 minutes precisely.
So
See you
let's
soon.
take a break until the top of the hour, and if you have some mental bandwidth, you can dip into the document of the proposals, and you can start to think about what you would say in your 100 seconds when the microphone comes back to you. Let's take a break.
Okay. David, maybe we can start again.
Hello, yes. Sorry, I had my headset off as I was. Sorry, I had my headset off as I was reading some of these proposals again.
Cool.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I propose that we don't do this in any alphabetical order. I propose that when people are ready to make a comment, they raise their electronic hand. And then we'll take people who are ready to say. And you raise your hand, depending on your Zoom app, you can raise it from the reactions button. And if there is nobody who is ready to speak, then I will pick people at random. So be ready. But hopefully, so who is that?
It's Angel.
Angel. So, all right, you can make your comment. 100 seconds maximum in support of features of a proposal.
Okay, 100 seconds. The main message, I'm really happy. I'm really proud with all of you. Every day, all the day, I'm marking people. And I would like to mark all of you with an accent. All proposals, all presentations, all participants. Nevertheless, I have to prioritize, to use my 5 points. So I am prioritizing according to the correlation to my proposal. It is education, education, education. I know that Natasha is doing very excellent job. I am participating in her events when I am able to. I know that David had written excellent book. I do recommend to everybody, and his project is also excellent. And the third one is, of course, educational game in the field of longevity. So my evaluation, not saying that all the rest are not valuable, just the opposite, is 2 points to Natasha, 2 points to David, 1 point to Gennady. And I will put it in the
chat.
In the chat immediately.
So well done, Angel, for being decisive and doing something very difficult. Thank you for your vote. So you don't have to vote all straight away. You can make a comment now and then make a decision later on. Who is ready to give next feedback? Whose hand is up? Elena.
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to thank all the participants and everyone who contributed a proposal. They are all great. And the only reason why I have to choose is, because the organizers demanded so. Since I am for a very long time in this field, and I am very much aware of the current problems that we have, my likings are more on the side of education and also optimizing management practices in the organizations that are currently working on promoting longevity. Both those aspects are incredibly important. So that's why I will give my preferences to those projects. But I also wanted to thank Makiko for participating and for sharing her ideas. And I wanted to note that despite people often don't call what they are doing transhumanism, sometimes it just happens to be so. For instance, the Japanese industry producing animations is incredible. And you guys managed to prepare the younger populations to the future that arrives by, speaking about robotics, speaking about, a consciousness that is living in a digital form and such. So, I would really like to have more discussions with you on this topic to just, explore the opportunities that come from, the artistic side of things, right? The cinema that is preparing the mindset for the future, because this is important as well. Thanks all to all of you.
Many thanks, Elena. The next hand up was by Mark.
Yes, thanks. Really quick words just to notice that, well, it seems to me that there are two categories of proposals that emerge. So some of those seeking to develop longevitism in general, and others seeking to improve our organization in general. But among the latter, several, as Angel mentioned, concerned various educational projects to achieve our goals. And it seems to me that this second category is, in fact, is favorable to all of our projects, and therefore that it is this educational project that can gather our consensus, maybe to be developed as a priority in the times to come, to, as we were saying, as concrete ideas or proposals that could inspire positive and future-oriented people and organizations like ours are. And I think that even art, for example, it's just a different tool, or one of the numerous tools for education. So as a teacher, as I was for a long time, I'm obviously in favor of all that kind of projects. So thank you very much for all those projects.
Thank you, Mark. To start off with, I'm going to prioritize the speakers. We will come to the non-speakers in due course as well. In that case, the next on the list is Jean Allemont. Jean, if you come off mute.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. I am sorry, I have to go. So I will give you my vote. First of all, to Natasha. Second one to Anton, then to Ila. So 2 points, 2 point, 1 point.
All right.
And again, I repeat my thanks and congratulations for the organization of that. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thanks for being brief, and wish you bon voyage, or wherever you're moving. By the way, you don't have to give votes now. You can just make a comment to people. But thank you, Jean. And let's go to Elena Nketcha next.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was speaking behind the scene because we're having blackout. So my comment goes to Anastasia. I can't pronounce, sorry. So Anastasia, I really appreciate her presentation, and she really talked about open source mode to longevity research, and it was appealing to me. And I'll also restate my my appeal to, or my sentiment to Natasha. She's really doing so well when it comes to providing educational materials and being kind to young longevity activists. And I also thank David Wood and for his availability and kind heart towards young researchers and activists. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Many thanks, Elena Nketcha. Any other speakers want to chip in with their comments now? Or in the meantime, and let's go to Gordon Silverman then. Gordon, you have 100 seconds.
Okay, you always limit me, David.
I'm limiting everybody to 100 seconds.
No, I will be very brief. I have a couple of comments. They were fantastic presentations. My judgments will be with relevant to the proposals in context. I think we need to consider all of these in the context of the world we live in. There are some that are immediately aware to me that I would cast the vote for. Not necessarily going to mention them now, but because I would like to read them on the link that David gave us. So therefore, I'm asking for some time extension or time limit, plus can we assign perhaps 2 half votes if I need more recommendations than the 5 votes will allow me. And I will mention one other thing. I am a participant in something called All of Us Research. That is a plan that enrolls 1 million people. They're going to track my medical history and as well as my DNA, and see if we have a lot of data that could be used in some of the, I don't know where the program stands right now, but that's something which is ongoing, and I thought I'd point out to the group. So I don't know if I've allotted my time, but the question for you, Mara, is do we have a limit to looking at the proposals? And can we assign perhaps 2 half votes if that's makes
Didier,
sense?
what's your answer? You are the main organizer, the genius behind this meeting. What is the... I don't think we can cope with half votes, can we? And maybe we can, yes. And the spreadsheet will cope with 0.5s. So if you want no negative votes, by the way, you can't get more votes by giving negative votes to others. So all votes have got to be positive.
You have 5 votes, so you have 5 votes. So it's already you will have 5 votes when we will be voting. So.
Gordon wants
I don't see why you need to.
Gordon is desperate to vote for more than 5, but that makes things hard.
Okay, no, well, you have to choose. So I will also take my 100 seconds to say, like everybody, that all these proposals were great. I will tell you, since I had the proposals a little bit before you, that I asked somebody to read the proposals without knowing who was behind. And yeah, I was positively surprised to see that the preferences were going to people who were quoted already today and who are the most well-known. And also that, yeah, there is no bad proposal. But no, I will say my favorite proposal is concerning longevity, and is the proposal from Michael and Anastasia, because it's very concrete. It's something, well, to be honest, something I was thinking to propose some years ago, but I didn't know it was existing already. So I think this idea of let's say open development of resource and sharing of knowledge and data is very important. And you have Anastasia and Michael already one website for this. So it needs to be support to get more support, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Anastasia.
Well, thank you very much for all proposals. It was very, very interesting for me, and especially I was very surprised that there are so many longevity organizations, very big ones. I really liked David Wood's presentation about, so I really had no idea about organizations in UK and what is happening. And I really liked Angel Marchev's presentation because, well, when I was trying to engage in one of our projects, some mathematicians and guys from physics department, I went there to tell them story and to tell them how can they help us. And they were really surprised that actually the aging is the problem, and this is what they can also try to solve. So they just didn't know about such a task. So I think this is very important to actually tell students about that and tell students from different departments how they can help. And I also, Felix Worth told about longevity parties. And this is also this is also very new for me. And I think, yes, because this is great, because governments have most of the money, and inspiring the governments to pay attention to the problem of aging is really important, because actually we need to somehow show them how the economy of people who live about 30 years old is better than the current one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lots to think about there too. I think this conversation is getting richer and richer. No hands are up at the moment. Who is ready to offer their opinions next? Is that's an applause hand, Natasha?
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Well, I'm applauding everyone, but I'd like here hand up.
Okay, great. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. I'm not voting. I'm not going to say my voting yet, but what I want to do is acknowledge those who talked about the mind and fairness and morality. And while I prefer to use ethics in a form like this than morals, because morals are personal and ethics are more something that is something you can vote on or build legislation on, I do value that so much, because in the transhumanist community, as diverse as we are, we're all going in this, trying to get up over the same hills and into the same valleys. And it's so important to be mindful of each other and to stop gossip immediately and not to engage in the wokeness of disparity that is bringing some people down and clickbait. And I think that the underlining sentiment I received in reading the proposals on Adam Ford's proposal and some of the other proposals that dealt with morality and goodness are so important to think about. The second point I wanted to make is longevity. Having been in the field of longevity for 4 decades at least, actively producing projects and teaching it and speaking about it, one thing that I find missing so much, and this goes to education, is knowledge. That many of the pitches, the initiatives here were so valuable concerning longevity, whether it was a PAC, a political positioning, or an organization, or a specific directive. What is needed in every single one of them is the knowledge of what the right hand is doing from the left hand. What is going on? One speaker said, and I don't remember, that there's not enough therapeutic research. Well, Greg Fay just had a breakthrough in therapeutic research that some people here participated in. So we need to know what the other people are doing so that we can have this resource of information when we're talking about longevity and trying to negotiate for better laws to protect life extension, that we have the as current, up-to-date information knowledge as possible to better assess and better deliver a solid, positive argument for longevity. And that's all I wanted to say on that. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Natasha. And nobody is ready to go. Everybody wants to spend a bit more time thinking or reading. Any of the non-speakers are welcome to put their hands up as well at this stage. Gordon, your hand's up again. Well, since nobody else is ready to speak, you can go again.
I'm going to ask your permission, David, because as you pointed out, no one has put forth something. And I will tell you a little bit about my work over the past 60 years. I actually introduced your brain this is cognitive science but it has pertinence to what you're talking about in a way, because you're all looking for, sounds to me that you're trying to find a way to understand how we think, basically, how humans think. back in 1970, I guess, or maybe it was 1980, I collaborated with a physician who was working in rehabilitation, and he what he did is he did a strange thing to people who had suffered stroke. He put electrodes on there, often associated with an arm which doesn't function work, although your neural pathways are intact. Some lesion in the brain has caused a failure of communication, and he showed them what their muscles were doing on a strip chart recorder. Well, they couldn't make a head or sense of that, because if you know what a strip chart recorder of EMG looks like, you would know that it didn't make sense to them. So he came to me and said, could I, because I was trained as an engineer, he says, is there a way to give them information they would understand? And what I did is I measured, it's a very simple computation. I measured the effort they were making rather than what the muscles were responding to. And we displayed it on an oscilloscope, and he started treating patients, and he did remarkable thing, particularly people who suffered from acoustic neuroma, where they often cut the...
I'll have to hurry you, sorry, Gordon. If you maybe wind up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, anyway, we try to sell it in the marketplace, and sometimes when you have an idea, it's not time. Recently, some people picked it up, and it's now in the public domain, and they're doing remarkable things with it. So if you want to look at some of the things, that I would recommend this site, which is Jogo Health, Jogo Health. If you want to look at that, you will find
that's some practical transhumanism.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We need practical transhumanism as well. Maybe you can put the link in the chat for those who missed it, and people can follow up there as well. You can, by all means, put your contact details, Gordon, if anybody wants to explore that further with you. Jose, I think I saw your hand up at one stage. Jose's still somewhere in the entry to the aeroplane. Yes.
Yes, I think this is a fantastic meeting. I congratulate you, David, Didier, and Mark. And I think we have to keep on advancing our transhumanist ideas. As I said, I am meeting with the top people of the government of Dubai. Dubai is quite a futuristic country, even though it is in the Arab world. They are interested in these ideas. They are interested in longevity. And also, you might know that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia created a multi-billion-dollar foundation to push for longevity. It's called Evolution Foundation in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Evolution with H at the beginning, Evolution. And then also the people in United Arab Emirates want to do the same. So anyway, we should have a lot of activities, investments, opportunities in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and other parts of the Arab world. So I welcome you all to Dubai next year, probably February or March, for a big conference on immortality in the Arab world in Dubai. So that's my point, and I am listening to everything. So congratulations, and come to Dubai next year.
Looking forward to joining you in Dubai next year, and in Paris this year in November, and goodness knows where else we will be gathering. Let me offer a couple of comments myself briefly. Let's start my stopwatch. I think we can't get to a better future without some reform of politics and the political structures. And so I am bound to support what Felix is doing in Germany and what James Hughes talked about as well, in terms of what the state can do to prioritize some improvements. I also think we can't go forwards unless we improve the moral nature of humans. If we remain at our present envious, striving, depressed, egotistical, divisive nature, then we are unlikely to build a better future. So I'm bound, therefore, to support what Mark has proposed. I also think we need to constantly review the effectiveness of our own organizations. without applying the best of management theory in a very practical way, we will underperform. And so I'm bound also to give some support to what Ilya Stambler was proposing. And then finally, I think the roles of entertainment, the roles of art are very important. And so I am split between also voting for what Elena was proposing and what Gennady was proposing, ways of reaching a wider audience and involving more. So I still haven't figured out what to vote for, but these are some things that particularly struck me, amongst many others, I have to say. 100 seconds, stop. Anybody else want to chip in to the discussion? Comments on the proposals, synergies that you've noticed, issues that you're worried about? Anton.
Hello, everybody. So in terms of proposals, I personally value something that is more or less clear and actionable. I mean, one thing, for example, let's cure aging. Everybody wants it, but it's not very direct. While, for instance, investigate art in the way how we deliver longevity message, it is more concrete, or build a game, or some educational initiatives. And the second thing, I put a small clarification on the chat to my proposal as well, as it was cut also in the text, by the way, that even though I mentioned several issues, they have different solutions. Some case it's about informing people, in some cases it's more about supporting technologies. That's it on my side.
Many thanks, Anton. And please do look at what Anton has written in the chat for more clarification as to what he was proposing. We have to find a way to overcome the taboos intelligently and wisely without generating an adverse reaction. So we need a different kind of skills in that area. I'm looking for more hands. Maybe everybody needs more time to read the rich content. Still quite a few speakers who haven't come back to the table yet. Perhaps, Antti, I could encourage you to just give a little bit of an update from your part of the world. Initially, you had a chance to do so, and any comments on the presentations. Antti.
Oh, I've been more browsing these. How many votes I have? 5.
5 votes, yes. You can give them now if you want, or you can just give some general comments and then write your votes into the chat later.
Yes, as I joined later, I haven't I had that much time to get that deep into all this proposal. I've been kind of structuring here. I was happily surprised this Gennady's game proposal. So currently I'm putting 2 points there. That was kind of a fun and a real project. Then 1 point for David Wood syllabus project. And I think Ilya was making very good points out. I think I support those. So I will give Ilya also 1 point, and I'm still, I think I have 1 point left, and I'm still thinking, should I put it on Sean Allemans or Mark Roux, or how do you pronounce? So should I write my, yes?
Can you write it in the chat column to be sure not to make any mistake?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
And if nobody's looking at, you might slip in 0.5 votes for these last 2 if you really can't decide, Antti. But I hope Didier didn't hear that. David Orban.
Yes, thank you. So my comment and remark is not about every or any single proposal, but a real thank you for the richness and the dedication and the contribution from everyone. But in particular, I am eager to see the voting and the attribution of the number of votes to be greatly expanded. I think that the issue of coordination together with the issue of understanding and learning, which I prefer rather than education, is a main challenge we have. As a matter of fact, the biggest challenges of humanity, climate change, pandemics, and the ability to maintain peace and resolve international conflict, are evidently impossible to be addressed by the current representative democracies, by nation states. We need an ability to scale our coordination and consensus building beyond. Now, the technology of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, is experimenting with such kind of participation. And it also tries to understand how to evolve tools of participation that can maintain the kind of attention and the kind of active enthusiasm that is required. So, David, I commend you for testing it in a little small scale with just 5 votes. But of course, this is the starting point, and I hope that the techno-progressive and transhumanist communities will embrace these exciting new tools of governance and coordination too.
Thanks so much. On the subject of DAOs, I agree. We should be exploring them too. I hope to explore DAOs at a forthcoming London Futurist event to see what they might offer. And the Vita DAO seems to be doing some very interesting work indeed. So let's see what we can learn from that. Adam, if you are still there, I may encourage you to come back on the screen. You are heroic. Amazing. I hope you don't have a busy day ahead of you. I give you a bit of time to draw your thoughts together and share them with the group.
Yeah, look, I think I first heard about moral enhancement from James Hughes, who didn't talk about this, or somebody but I found out very quickly that Julian Savulescu, who's also an Australian from Melbourne, was pioneering this idea. Or was one of the people doing it. And I found it really interesting because at the heart of the issues with our ability to coordinate is, I think, comes down to our ability to make sense of ethics. So I think it's important that if we're all going to sort of move strategically and collaboratively into the future, we need, I guess we should, I'd hope that we can all elevate to become more moral and ethically capable of doing that. It's far too much far too many, I guess what I'd say, morally suboptimal strategies for surviving in the world these days. What else? I really like James Hughes's proposals. I think it's very eloquent and is doing a lot with IEET, so I'm thankful for that. And I just last night, or actually today, yesterday, because it's the morning, I went and saw Patricia Pacini's talk on her art. Does anybody know who she is? Patricia Pacini? Yeah, and I went with Stellar. So anybody know who he is? Yeah. So these are awesome artists from Australia who Patricia Pacini does really lifelike human animal chimeras, make sculptures or organizes sculptures to be made, and they're fantastic. And she just spoke about really beautifully about her work, and I'd never seen her speak before, so it was a really nice thing to do. So yeah, I'm on board with the art as well. That's it.
Thanks. Moral enhancement, art, and more. And you gave your votes to James Hughes, Mark Rue, and Elena Milova, as I see in the chat.
Yeah, I think moral enhancement doesn't get enough attention. I think it maybe needs to be rebranded, but I think a lot of people think it means some form of imposition of morals, sort of, yeah. And yeah, I think it needs a softer touch, not necessarily a provocateur's sort of. I mean, can I say, like, something which is sort of couched in a way which is more easy to swallow than some of the literature out there. Some of the existing literature is rather argumentative. Yeah,
and people are afraid of what this moral enhancement might do, that we might be locked into something that seems good but is actually suboptimal. So that's a hard question. Elena.
Well, sorry, I'll finish.
That's good. No, put your hand up again later if you want, Adam. Let's turn to Elena.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to thank everyone who brought to the table the topic of...
Your sound's a bit strange. Let's give Elena a moment.
Yeah, sorry, is that better? Okay,
wonderful.
Sorry.
Enhanced.
Windows is crazy. All right. So I wanted to thank everyone who brought to the table the topic of moral enhancement, and I just wanted to, give my 5 cents. So as you may know, I am behind of the communication strategy of Lifespan.io, and I also was working most recently on a project of the ethics code of longevity journalists, just to provide a template for everyone who is covering aging research for how exactly one should communicate with the general public about it. And behind this was my research of various sociological studies explaining how people perceive those things, how they respond to the topic of life extension when it's framed in different ways and such. And I also, as I was, progressing through the studies, I was also speaking with a lot of people, and I tried to understand the psychology behind that perception, this reaction, that reaction. So now I think, moral enhancement can technically happen on its own if we prepare the ground for it, all right? Because if a person does not know enough about the future about the positive potential of technologies, they will be naturally afraid, right? The future shock is going to be there. Then if people have psychological problems that hold back their psychological development, their maturation, their self-actualization, naturally those traumatic experiences that they had, their traumas are going to be changing their perception and painting the world in more negative colors. So when they will be meeting new ideas, new technologies, obviously they are going to be more prone to be afraid of them than embrace them. So that's one more aspect, psychological preparedness, right? And then there is competence. That also is a factor when a person perceives something as good or bad, right? If they are good at something, naturally they will perceive this activity or this lifestyle as something good. So before accepting things like rational biohacking or something, people have to know how to do that in a good way, how to extract positive results from those activities before they can completely embrace this and completely embrace the idea of radical life extension. So that's one more factor, competence. And then the positive life conditions is also a very important element of the whole picture, because when people have very poor living conditions, when they only think about, how to get to the next day, how to make the ends meet, obviously it's going to be very difficult to discuss with them any sort of, breakthroughs in science and how the world can be tomorrow and such, because they are so stressed, they may not be able to even, engage in those discussions properly and evaluate those ideas. So working in the direction of solving global problems, many of those problems have to do with poor living conditions, will naturally contribute to elevating the consciousness of people and allow them to be a part of this dialogue in a more, positive way. But that's not all, because even if we solve all those things, we still have our biological limitations, our reptile brains that prevent us from, holding back the negative response and evaluating the field first, evaluating the idea first before giving out a negative reaction, right? And we can't do much about this. I mean, psychology can be one of the solutions, psychological competence and such, but it doesn't solve everything. And this is where I think cognitive sciences come into place. And I am really looking forward to having a way how we can, maybe engage new technologies to help us self-regulate and develop more rational assessment skills for all those things that are about to arrive. I would really like to see more projects, going in this direction in the future. But until then, I think the main things that we can do as a community to promote those causes and help more people to embrace those ideas like transhumanism and healthy life extension is primarily still by education and creating this positive container space where they can, digest those ideas properly and accept them and move forward with some projects. Just my 5 cents.
Just a point, I draw your attention on the fact that some of you are voting for speakers who have not proposed the text. We only vote on proposed text. Okay, you have the war list in the shared document. So take care for the vote. Thank you.
Thanks. Elena, that was more than 5 cents worth. That was lots to think about there. Let's move to James Hughes.
I wanted to first congratulate Elena. The IET started a program on visions of the future where we tried to engage with culture creators who were writing about
Zoom sur le transhumanisme.
Hello, Jean, could you mute? We tried to engage with culture creators about the kind of Luddite tropes that were common in a lot of future-oriented fiction. And I think that was a very popular program of ours. We had interns who wrote critiques of various things on television and film and so forth. And a lot of our issues are being debated in one way or another, often very poorly in those venues. So I do think this is a very important venue. Also, the educational initiatives that have been proposed, like David's. I'm an educator. I think the more we can do with the educational side of this, the stronger we will be. On terms of the moral enhancement proposal from Mark, I would just suggest that instead of moral enhancement, I mean, I started my intervention by talking about the fact that I think longevity is our most popular intervention, our most popular proposal. And I think at the other end of the spectrum is moral enhancement, which is probably our least popular intervention or proposal. And the way I would frame moral enhancement is really around cognitive liberty, which is the idea that emerging neurotechnologies should be judged strictly on the basis of whether they are going to hurt you, and that people should have the right to use anything that's not really going to hurt you on their brain. And if we have that right, then that applies to recreational drugs as well, which is the principal battlefront right now, recreational drugs, but eventually to cognitive enhancement drugs and moral enhancement drugs. And it would also apply to neurotechnologies like brain-computer interfaces in the future. So I think if we frame it around the cognitive liberty, I think that's a very popular demand. If we frame it around improving people's morals, even if we say, look, we're not telling you what kind of morals you have to improve, but if you want to improve your morals, that's not going to be a very popular way to frame it.
Well, more to think about there. Anton.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I mean, I have problems with ethics and morals because my main problem with it is typically now it is used in an abusive way, like people see new technologies and they say, okay, let's put some moral, and then they try to restrict its development or usage because it can harm in many imaginative scenarios. And in some cases, actually most of the cases, such thinking is really premature. You think that there will be a threat while in reality it may not happen. In the same time, I like usage of ethics and morals in a more proper way when we think not about limiting use of something, but about opportunity cost, about virtual graveyard. How many people are dying if we don't develop this or that therapy fast enough? What we will lose if we will ban animal intelligence enhancement, or if we will ban human or animal cloning. And I think that a lot of push should be actually given to change the paradigm of applying ethics from restrictive to opportunity cost thinking. Thank you.
Thank
I would
you,
like
Anton.
to support Anton in exactly that point. Actually, ethicism is a cover-up of reactionary thinking against the science and technology optimism at the moment. It is the main enemy.
That's why ethicists have sometimes got a bad name inside the transhumanist community and elsewhere. We have to avoid that. Anybody else want to chip in? How about Felix? We haven't heard from you for a while. Are you able to offer some thoughts about what you've heard, Felix?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would, I like most of the two proposals of Elena and James. So I would give 3 points to Elena's proposal and 2 points to James' proposal. I really like the idea of doing advocacy with longevity art. So especially, I think good movies would help a lot. And I like that James talked about campaigning for the longevity dividend and also argue for public financing of research. I think that's really important. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Makiko, do you have anything else you want to add into the discussion?
I'm sorry, I don't have enough capacity of comprehension. And I'm sorry, I'm really listening. Sorry.
That's no problem. Your presentation earlier was excellent, and you got lots of votes, even though you didn't have a written proposal. So
I tried to read.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Anybody else who hasn't spoken yet? And maybe we can, any of the non-speakers. Ben, for example, Ben Balweg, if you're still there, I wonder if you can share your thoughts about what you've heard.
I was very close to, and probably will be submitting my votes for Ilya, all 5 of them. I just think that organizing our organizations internally and also interacting between organizations to cumulatively reach the ultimate goal is a good thing to do. It's not like we'll get there 100%. We all got to keep doing our individual things as well, but I felt like thinking longer term, start with that and really get solid there, and then we can move forward. Thanks for letting me be here today and voting.
Well, if we give these 5 votes to Ilya, it moves him into first place in the voting. So that has changed things a little bit. I won't tell you the rest of the votes yet, but that's an interesting angle. Anybody else want to speak up? How about Elena? Yes, go for it. Another 5 cents.
As you may remember, my talk at some of the Transvision conferences was focused on that very thing, on the efficiency of life extension and transhumanist organizations. I am completely on board with the idea that is proposed by Ilya. I'm of a completely same opinion of how important this is for everyone who is running such an organization to be properly adopting, good business practices. It's not that non-profit management will be so different from, a management of a commercial firm, right? It's all the same things that you do. You put together a team, you define the rules, you define the goals, you give people the goals, the vision, and they work on it. And then you work with them, provide them with the resources in order for them to be able to reach those goals. And one has to know how to do that, especially it's important for the leaders. Sadly, it's completely true what Ilya said about the organizations that are doing just something and they are not sticking with good management practices. And the results are, for the lack of better word, pitiful. So, just imagine that this energy will be channeled properly and people will be able to track the results and improve constantly in everything that they are doing. I believe that if that was the case, probably all of us will be immortal already. So I'm completely on board with what Ilya is proposing. And if I'm able to contribute in any way to improve those, maybe having some sort of
microphone's gone again. I think we got the gist. You're very much supporting what Ilya says. It's in line indeed with some of the proposals you have made in previous talks yourself.
Oh.
Great.
Yeah, so sorry about the camera. So yeah, if we will be able to put together maybe a club of longevity entrepreneurs or something, just to share those best practices, share the books that can form a proper mindset for a longevity entrepreneur, I think that it is going to be incredibly useful, because in advocacy and nonprofit management, all the same rules apply. If you're not efficient, you're not achieving your goals, and generally you are not able to change the status quo. And that's what we want, right? To change the status quo, to introduce those technologies, to make the public understand how valuable they are, and eventually to change the world by removing age-related diseases completely. So, if we can work in this direction, that will be awesome.
Thanks again. Malvina, we haven't heard from you. I wonder if you have anything you want to share with the audience?
Okay, I try to say, I'm sorry, my English is not very good. Very many good proposals, so it's very difficult to me to make choice. And I decided to spread my 5 votes to 5 participants. 1 vote to Anton Kulaga. Moral taboo cause many problems, so fight against taboo is important direction. 1 vote to Elena Milova, I consider that work with media is enough importance. 1 vote for Felix Worth. Sorry for I can correctly say this surname. Political parties is also important direction to make difference. 1 vote for Gennady Stolyarov for creation video game. I consider this is interesting idea that also have enough influence to mind of many people with very interesting idea. And 1 vote to Anastasia Pelikanova. Structural data can make practical benefit in where right now, but useful for practical work. I duplicate with my votes to chat. That's all.
Arma, what is the last one? You mean Armand? Or Anastasia?
Anastasia Pelikanova. I write with to chat.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. Yes. Zena, do you have anything you want to share with the group? Zena Holmes? Not to worry if you don't. How about Agbolade? Wonder if you have any comments to offer. Agbolade? Not for the moment. Well, we're almost winding down, I think. We've been going 3 hours. Didier said we could go for 4 hours, and I don't want to overdo people's stamina. I'll propose to let's unmute. I think you have to unmute yourself, perhaps, Agbolade. Let's try that again. Ask to unmute. So you have to unmute yourself, I think, Agbolade. It's your control. No, it's not working. While we try that, let's hear another 5 cents from Elena.
Oh, was my arm still
Oh, sorry,
up?
hand is still up. That's from before, was it? I
Sorry.
forgot to lower it. So let's take that down. Well, I think we're winding down. Anybody who wants to vote, let's do it in the next 2 or 3 minutes, and then we will feedback on the top 4 or 5 proposals without necessarily breaking them down in order as ones that the group mind tended to select. The host is not allowing participants to unmute, so I wonder why that is. Didier, perhaps you could try to unmute.
Yes, I tried already. I cannot unmute Agbola directly. I normally ask Agbola to reactivate the mic, but probably there is some technical problem somewhere. So.
Sorry to hear that. But Didier, what's your own thoughts as the meeting has wound on? Anything you want to add based on all the wisdom and provocations that other people have raised?
Yes, so my first thing is once again quite interesting. Second, you are a great animator. It was not going the way I was proposing, but it was better to have this kind of having the votes directly. And I'm quite happy that almost nobody was saying negative things and so on. Even Anton, you were saying something negative, but I agree on the idea itself. But yeah, it was so maybe we can now see the votes and I don't know, to have a last discussion about or to have a last round about the proposals who have the most votes. I don't know, or maybe we can stop here and we will give the information after this meeting to all participants. I don't know precisely, so to be honest. I think it's great until now, maybe not necessary to go much further. And I want to also to thank all the speakers who were writing things and all the speakers who were saying things.
Well, thank you. Let's give people a few more minutes to vote if anybody hasn't.
Yeah.
So I don't think we got votes from Armand or from who else hasn't got votes recorded? Maybe Mark Rue. Makiko, I know votes are coming. I see that. Martin Lipfosek.
Yes, that's right. My vote was ready, but I didn't write it. Just a moment.
So we'll just give a few moments to have that last vote, and then I don't think we'll break out the top 5 in terms of order, but we can mention what the 5 top ranked votes proposals were, just out of interest.
Yes. Yes. And maybe this time when we have the votes, if somebody is thinking one of the proposals is a bad one, He just can say, but I don't think that that somebody thinks that way, but just to know.
So a few more moments, waiting for Mark and anybody else? You can just put the answers straight into the spreadsheet, Mark. And then we can all go about the rest of our day.
Yeah.
That is.
Okay.
All right, so copy that into the spreadsheet as well. The spreadsheet behind the scenes in which we're keeping track of this.
David, what is this spreadsheet?
Say again?
Is it this spreadsheet you are looking at available for us?
No, we didn't make it available. We might do that later, but I mean, some people may not like it broadly exposed who they voted for. I don't know. So let me just, in no order, just highlight the 5 proposals that had the most votes. Natasha's proposal about the knowledge accelerator, working with that, her new project building on top of the transhumanist studies. Then there's the proposal that was given by Anastasia, together with her colleague Mikael Batan, for that work that she's doing there. That's also in the top 5. Also in the top 5 is the proposal by Mark Roux for moral enhancement, and the proposal by Ilya Stambler for improving our organizational effectiveness. And then somehow my own proposal has crept into the top 5 as well. So, and lots of others very close behind. So for what it's worth, there's a variety of different types of things that the audience has collectively said we should be focusing on. And we should have a think about practically how can we go forwards with these projects and indeed with all the other ones that people feel inspired about as a result of what has been said today. Maybe Mark, I'll give you a chance, Mark Roux, I'll give you a chance to make some comments as well, and then hand back to Didier for the closing words.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Just a really quick word to say that I have the impression that one of our goal that we're trying to reach from several years. I think, for example, in Brussels in 2017, where we were also trying to have some ideas and to think about that and to take some decision, and it wasn't so much a success, I think, in the previous time, because at the end everybody was living with different ideas and not common idea. And by this way, maybe we are closer than something like some common ideas, because these ideas now are proposed to everybody, and everybody can do what he wants with these ideas. But at least we have some direction, some common direction. So I think this is a good point for tonight, if I can say.
Thanks, Mark. And Didier.
So, yeah, to conclude, thank you again for being here. Thank you again for almost all for your participation. And you will receive after this meeting in a few days. Well, first the link to this meeting and also the text with some comments probably we will see that David Mack and me and I, how to also maybe how to go further, how to discuss further. And I want to say again, like Ilya was saying, like Anastasia and others were saying, it's important to discuss, but it's also important to do things, to be active for longevity, for transhumanism, for technoprogressism. Okay, so goodbye to you. I now stop the YouTube and the okay.
The recording has stopped.